Hello, you're watching PC Jack. About a month ago, I ditched Windows and decided to install Linux Mint on my daily system. While the initial installation process was a little bit rough, I did manage to resolve the issues and actually managed to install a fairly rock-solid OS. So while part 1 of this series focused on the Linux installation, in today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at actual productivity tasks that I would usually undertake on my main system. We'll be taking a look at some of the successes as well as some of the woes that I've encountered along the way. If I had to sum up my first month working within Linux, I would say some things have worked really well, while other things simply did not work very well at all. But to start, let's go over the positives. Starting off, of course, as a content creator, I need to actually be able to create thumbnails. So for that, I turn to my tried and true favourite regardless of what OS I'm using, and that is GIMP. I wish I could go into a bit more detail regarding it, but honestly, using GIMP has been absolutely flawless on Linux, and there is absolutely no difference between that and Windows. And for something as simple as being able to make a thumbnail, that's really good news that you don't have to mess around with anything like that. Where things do start to change is when it comes to video editing. So this is where I thought I would really struggle, as I'm used to using Premiere Pro, which, as you may be aware, is not actually supported within Linux. Now, while I could try some VM funkery to try and get Premiere to actually work within Linux, I decided to forego that and dip my toes into something new. So I decided to start using DaVinci Resolve in order to actually edit my videos while I'm using Linux, which is fully supported and free to use. I've never really given it a good go, so I was a little nervous going into it, since sometimes it can take some adjustment, especially with something like video editing, where once you're used to using a specific piece of software, it can become like muscle memory. However, I am happy to say that my transition from Premiere Pro to DaVinci Resolve has been somewhat pleasant. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing. One of the initial hurdles I had to overcome was the fact that my video files are created using an MP4 H.265 codec, which doesn't actually seem to work within DaVinci Resolve. So if I was to use the video files from this video straight away, it just would not play correctly within DaVinci. So in order to resolve this, I actually had to convert my files to FFmpeg. To do this, I found a neat little way of doing this within the actual command terminal. Okay, so as an example, I've got DaVinci Resolve here with an empty project, and say we wanted to actually import my intro for my videos. So we could import media. Here I've got my intro, so if I import it here, and as you can see, there is just nothing. I can't do anything with it. Can't even go to editing with that. Even if I go through here, there's no audio, there's no video, I can't do anything with it whatsoever. So instead, what I do is I use this little program that I found online, and we can take a little look at what's inside it. You'll see it's a basic script on here to actually convert the file. So all we need to do is to open the terminal in the folder, and then what we can do then is drag this program into the terminal, click enter, and then it'll go through and actually transcode the video. And then you can see once it's done, it's just dropped off into this transcoded folder, and then it's been converted. So now that it's done that, we can go into DaVinci and find that file. We can import the transcoded file, and there we go. We have the transcoded file that actually works within DaVinci Resolve. So once I overcame this issue with having to transcode my video files, I actually managed to pick up DaVinci Resolve pretty quickly. I'm by no means an expert after a month of having to use it, but I can at least edit a video and upload it to my channel without a noticeable degradation to the actual quality of my videos. Now, DaVinci Resolve is not exactly exclusive to Linux, so I won't go into massive details about using it as a program in itself, but I can easily say that it has been a somewhat enjoyable experience and something that I've got on pretty well since turning to Linux. There are of course limitations, what with it being a free piece of software, but one of the things that disappointed me the most was when it came to actual rendering options. You do get some level of customization, but nothing quite along the lines of what you would normally get within Premiere Pro. I much prefer manually setting my video and audio bit rates, choosing from VBR or CBR, double passes, all sorts of things like that, but within DaVinci Resolve you don't quite get as much customization when it comes to that. Instead, you tend to just rely on the actual presets that DaVinci Resolve already includes, which can be a little limited in the actual encoding options that they offer. A bit of a nitpick, but still one of the reasons I think I still may prefer Premiere Pro over DaVinci Resolve. But DaVinci Resolve has still been a great replacement regardless during my first month on Linux. So all things considered, you could say that my first month using Linux as my main workstation has been somewhat successful. However, things did turn very sour very quickly, especially when it came to my live streams. As you may be aware, I live stream once a week with my live show Tech Flashback, which is co-hosted by my friend Jerry over at Top 3 Entertainment, where we chat and just have a general talk about the biggest news stories of the week. I'd highly recommend checking it out, but anyway. When I first got my Linux Mint installation working, one of the first things I did was make sure I had OBS set up exactly how I had it in Windows. And I did a little test stream where I played some Hades on Twitch, and the actual experience was pretty smooth and I had no issues whatsoever. After this, I had pretty high hopes for the live streams, and for the first couple of weeks we had absolutely zero issues, and it was basically the exact same experience as it was on Windows. But about 2 weeks in, OBS decided to just completely balk my live streams. The worst offender for this was my audio just becoming a complete disaster and actually resulted in a couple of late starts recently. A typical live stream setup for myself includes a Discord video call with Jerry where his video feed is patched directly into OBS, which works perfectly fine, but for some reason the actual output of it would somehow get completely lost, so you can't actually hear Jerry on the live stream, and for some reason OBS would stop picking up my mic and instead transfer it over to the actual built-in microphone on one of my webcams, resulting in really echoey and horrible audio. Still can't hear you. Why can't they hear you then? What's happening here? Right, tell you what guys, we're going to have a little BRB and fix this because there's something going on. My system is being very strange today, so give us a couple of minutes, we'll fix this and we'll get back to it. Just one moment. Something I think we should have all known by now, but also something that is also a bit disheartening to see. And that is... Todd Howard says Fallout 5 is coming after the Elder Scrolls 6. The audio is off. Why would the audio be off if I just open a web page? Now, I am actually very pedantic when it comes to enabling specific audio sources within OBS. So I actually did try and optimize this as much as possible, but for 3 weeks straight it has just been an absolute nightmare to use. Another massive gripe of mine with OBS has been what it's been doing to my actual webcam filters. I use crop specifically for Tech Flashback so that myself and Jerry can have a split screen down the middle of the actual stream. But for some reason, OBS has just been removing that crop and ruining the actual webcam capture. Okay, so just to demonstrate my point, I've literally just booted up my system, and this is what happens when I open OBS. Why is my webcam showing half of it like that? And also, I don't even have that webcam usually connected to my OBS. What's this? Why does it always do that? That makes no sense. Now, of course, I can't prove any of this is actually because of Linux, but since using OBS on Windows, I've had absolutely zero issues whatsoever. What was a really enjoyable part of my week has actually become a bit of a nightmare with me having to actually troubleshoot and do anything correctly when it comes to my live streams, which is obviously not ideal for myself or Jerry, or for anyone tuning in. But overall, what are my thoughts on using Linux as a workstation? For the most part, using Linux has been a pretty positive experience when it comes to my content creation. It has allowed me to explore another form of video editing when it comes to DaVinci Resolve, and it's always a good idea to be able to try out something new and adapt to something that you're not usually familiar with. In itself, it's been a really rewarding experience trying out DaVinci, and even though I may not actually fully switch to it even when the series is over, it's still good that I've had that experience in something different. What did really disappoint me when it came to Linux was just being able to live stream, as it is quite a vital part of my actual workflow for each week, and to have the issues I've been having with OBS has just been an absolute pain, and it does make me feel like I may actually have to do a dual streaming setup if I actually want to get the ground running on any streams. But maybe after a couple of weeks I could actually resolve this and then wholeheartedly say that I will use Linux for all of my work. For now though, I'm not quite there yet. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, then please feel free to like and subscribe for more videos on the way soon. In part 3 we'll be tackling gaming on Linux and seeing whether my favourite games will actually work at all, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled for that when it goes live. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at PCJack94. If you'd like to talk more with myself and other like-minded hardware enthusiasts, then make sure to check out the PCJack Discord. If you'd like to support the channel even further though, then feel free to check out the PCJack Patreon where you can claim exclusive benefits while helping to fund everything I do on the channel for you guys. You'll find links to all those in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.